Walk down any grocery aisle, and half the shelf is designed around one trick, charging you extra for 30 seconds of work you could do yourself. Not spoiled food, not bad food, just food wearing a markup, dressed up as convenience. Smart shoppers aren't the ones who never treat themselves. They're the ones who can tell the difference between paying for a product and paying for packaging. Today, we're counting down 14 grocery items that quietly drain the average cart. What they actually cost you per ounce, per serving, per trip, and what to grab instead for a fraction of the price. None of these are bad foods. Some of them are things I still buy occasionally myself. The point isn't guilt. It's knowing exactly what you're paying for. So the choice is yours and not the marketing department's. Think of it as a tax you're allowed to opt out of, item by item, whenever you decide the time savings genuinely isn't worth the markup. Some weeks that's most of this list. Some weeks it's none of it. The only mistake is not knowing the tax exists in the first place. We're counting down from 14 to number 1. And number 1 is the pattern behind almost every item on this list. The single habit that, once you see it, you'll spot in nearly every aisle you walk down for the rest of your life. Let's get into it. Sliced melon, cubed pineapple, bagged carrot sticks. It feels like a fair trade for 5 extra minutes of your evening. It isn't. Pre-cut produce routinely runs 2 to 3 times the price per pound of the whole item. And that's before counting the extra plastic clamshell you're paying to throw away. There's a freshness cost too, not just a money one. The moment produce is cut, it starts losing vitamins and moisture and oxidizes faster. So that fresh-cut container is often already a day or 2 past its best by the time it hits the shelf. The fix costs you almost nothing in time. A whole pineapple takes about 4 minutes with a decent knife. A bag of carrots takes 2. Batch it once a week into your own containers, and you've matched the convenience for a third of the price, with produce that's actually fresher. The one real exception is genuine last-minute convenience. A party platter, a lunch you're packing in 90 seconds, where the time actually matters more than the markup. Just don't let that be your everyday default. That's where the money leaks out. There's also a meal prep trick that beats the store's version outright. Layer your own fruit salad in a jar with the driest, heartiest fruit on the bottom and the delicate stuff on top, and it stays fresh for days, noticeably longer than a store clamshell, which mixes everything together and speeds up spoilage from the first cut. Even the party platter exception has a cheaper version worth knowing. Most grocery stores sell whole vegetables for a fraction of the prearranged tray's price. And arranging your own takes about the same 10 minutes as unwrapping and plating a store one. You're mainly paying the tray's premium for the arrangement, not the vegetables inside it. Salad kits are the pre-cut produce trick wearing a bigger costume. Lettuce, a tiny dressing packet, some croutons and cheese, all for roughly double what a head of lettuce and a few pantry staples would cost you separately. They're also one of the more frequent produce recalls in the grocery store, precisely because pre-washed, pre-cut greens sealed in a warm bag are a near-perfect environment for bacteria to spread if anything goes wrong upstream. A whole head of lettuce you wash yourself carries meaningfully less of that risk. A head of romaine or a bag of spinach, your own bottle of dressing, and a handful of nuts or cheese you already have gets you the same bowl for less money, less packaging, and a longer shelf life in the crisper drawer. If the kit's real appeal is the specific flavor combo, the crunchy Asian slaw, the Caesar mix by the dressing and toppings once and reuse them across plain bag lettuce for weeks, you're paying for the recipe idea exactly once instead of every single time. The washing step is also less of a hassle than people assume, which is the whole reason the kits exist in the first place. A salad spinner costs about $10, lasts for years, and get the head of lettuce clean and dry in under a minute. Genuinely the entire convenience the bag is charging double for. One storage trick makes plain lettuce last almost as long as the specially packaged kit. A paper towel on the bottom of the container to soak up extra moisture. That single sheet of paper towel is most of what the expensive, keeps fresh longer packaging is actually doing for the cost of, well, a paper towel. Those 4-packs and multi-packs of individual yogurt cups look budget-friendly sitting next to the giant tub, but price per ounce they usually run 30 to 50% more than a large container of the same yogurt. The tub isn't just cheaper, it's more flexible. You control the portion size instead of being locked into whatever the cup decided, which matters if half your household wants a small snack and the other half wants a full breakfast. A set of small reusable containers costs a few dollars once and pays for itself in a couple of grocery trips. Scoop your own portions from the tub on Sunday, and you've built the same grab-and-go convenience without the per-cup premium. Flavored cups specifically carry an extra cost worth knowing. You're often paying more for sugar and fruit syrup than for yogurt. Plain yogurt from the tub with your own fresh fruit or a spoon of honey stirred and matches the flavor for less sugar and less money. Worth knowing while you're comparing tubs. Plain Greek yogurt usually costs less per ounce than flavored regular yogurt and packs roughly double the protein. So the upgrade that actually saves money and improves the nutrition label is often sitting right next to the expensive cups, not in a cup at all. Building your own cup at home also just tastes better in practice. A scoop of tub yogurt, a handful of granola, and fresh berries assembled in 30 seconds beats almost any pre-mixed flavor cup, because nothing's gone soggy sitting in a sealed container on a truck for 2 weeks. Bagged shredded cheese costs more per pound than a block of the same cheese, sometimes by 20 to 30%, and it comes coated in a starch or cellulose anti-caking agent specifically added to stop the shreds from clumping, which also happens to be part of why it melts slightly less smoothly than fresh grated. A block of cheese and a $5 box grater closes that gap in under a minute of actual effort. Grate what you need tonight, and the rest of the block stays fresher in the fridge than an open bag of pre-shredded, which dries out and gets waxy within a week or two of opening. There's a genuine convenience case for the bag. A weeknight taco night, kids helping in the kitchen, and that's a fine trade to make occasionally. The problem is only when it becomes the default instead of the exception. One more angle worth knowing. Buying cheese in a bigger block, pre-shredding it yourself in a food processor, and freezing in bags gets you the exact same grab-and-go convenience as the store bag for block cheese prices in about 10 minutes once a month. How you store the leftover block matters too. Wax paper or parchment, not plastic wrap. Lets cheese breathe and keeps mold at bay far longer, while sealed plastic traps moisture against the surface and actually speeds up spoilage, a free habit that stretches the money you just saved even further. Freezing shredded cheese you've grated yourself works better than people expect, too. It thaws with only a slight texture change that disappears completely once it's melted onto pizza, casseroles, or nachos, which covers most of what pre-shredded bags are actually bought for in the first place. Those boxes of tiny individual chip bags or cookie packs marketed for lunchboxes are one of the clearest per-ounce markups in the entire store, often close to double the price of the same snack in one family-size bag. You're not paying for chips at that point. You're paying for a machine to portion and seal dozens of tiny bags, and that packaging cost gets passed straight to you, multiplied by how many little bags are in the box. A family-size bag and a set of small reusable containers or silicone bags does the identical job, pre-portioned, grab-and-go lunchbox ready, for roughly half the price, and you decide the portion size instead of the manufacturer. If portion control for kids is the actual goal rather than pure convenience, that's a fair reason to keep a few multi-packs around. Just know you're paying a real premium for that specific benefit, not getting it for free. The same portioning trick works even better if you buy the biggest bag the store sells rather than the family size. Bulk warehouse club bags of the same chips or pretzels often beat even the family size unit price by another 20% or more for anyone with a pantry space to store them. A $2 clip or a simple fold-in tape trick keeps an open family size bag fresh for a week or more, which is really the last piece of the puzzle. The multi-pack's only genuine advantage was staying sealed and fresh between snacks, and a clip solves that for pennies instead of dollars. Salt, sugar, baking soda, white vinegar, flour. These are about as close to a commodity as the grocery store sells. There's essentially no meaningful difference between the name brand and the store brand, because in a lot of cases they're manufactured in the same plants to the same specification. Paying the name brand premium on these specific items is close to pure marketing tax. You're funding advertising, not buying a better product. The gap is often 30 to 60% for something chemically indistinguishable. The rule of thumb that saves the most money with the least effort. The simpler and more standardized the product, the safer the store brand swap. Salt is salt. Sugar is sugar. Save your brand loyalty for things where taste and formulation genuinely differ. Coffee, chocolate, sauces with real recipe variation. A useful habit while you're standing in the aisle. Check the unit price tag on the shelf edge, not the package price. It strips out package size tricks and shows you the true cost per ounce, which is the only number that actually tells you which one is cheaper. It's also worth knowing many store brands aren't a cheaper imitation at all. They're frequently made on the exact same production line as the name brand, in the same factory, just before or after a run for the branded label, with a different sticker on the package. You're often buying the identical product for less, not a knockoff. Store brands have also improved dramatically over the last decade specifically because chains now compete on private label quality, not just price. A lot of the store brand tastes worse reputation is a decade or two out of date and worth retesting on your own kitchen table before ruling it out. Price per cup. Single-serve coffee pods are routinely 3 to 5 times more expensive than the same coffee bought as ground beans or as a bag of whole beans you grind yourself, often working out to 50 cents or more per cup just for the pod and the convenience. A drip machine or a simple pour-over setup makes coffee for a fraction of that, and a decent one costs less than a few months' worth of pods to buy outright. The machine pays for itself fast, then every cup after that is nearly free by comparison. The pods aren't pure waste, though. Most brands now offer recyclable versions, and if you genuinely need one perfect single cup with zero mess, that's a real convenience worth something. The mistake is running an entire household's daily coffee habit through them without ever doing the per cup math. If the taste and ritual matter to you, buying whole beans and grinding right before brewing beats pods on flavor too. Coffee starts losing its best flavor within days of grinding, and pre-ground pods have usually been sitting for weeks or months by the time you brew them. If you already own a pod machine and aren't ready to give it up, a reusable metal pod cup is the middle path. Fill it with your own ground coffee, and you keep the exact same machine and routine while cutting the per cup cost down close to drip coffee prices. A single bottle of pre-made smoothie or cold-pressed juice can cost as much as $5 to $8 for roughly the same fruit and vegetables you could blend at home for $1 or $2. Plus, most bottle versions pack an added sugar to make up for flavor lost in processing and shelf stabilizing. A basic blender and a bag of frozen fruit closes almost the entire price gap, and frozen fruit is picked and flash frozen at peak ripeness, so you're not even losing nutrition or flavor to make the swap. A handful of spinach or kale blended into a fruit smoothie is close to undetectable in taste once berries are in the mix, and is a nearly free way to add real nutrition. One more thing the bottled version rarely bothers with, since leafy greens don't photograph well on a label. Batch prep is the trick that makes this actually sustainable on busy mornings. Portion frozen fruit and greens into bags on the weekend, and every weekday morning becomes a 30-second blend instead of a fresh chopping session, matching the bottled version speed for a fraction of its price. The one place bottled juice earns its price is genuine shelf-stable travel, a road trip, an office fridge with no blender, where fresh isn't actually an option. As a daily habit at home, it's one of the most expensive ways to eat fruit in the entire store. There's a nutrition angle worth knowing too. Juicing strips out most of the fiber that whole fruit naturally has, which is part of why juice spikes blood sugar faster than eating the same fruit whole. Blending, unlike juicing, keeps the fiber in the drink. One more reason a home blend beats even a fresh squeezed juice, not just a cheaper one. Small tubs of guacamole, hummus, and salsa carry some of the steepest per-ounce markups of anything in the deli case. You're paying largely for someone else's 5 minutes with a food processor, wrapped in a tub with a short shelf life. Guacamole specifically is absurdly simple to make fresh. Mash an avocado, a squeeze of lime, salt, done in 90 seconds, and it tastes noticeably better than the stabilized, shelf-extended version in the tub, which often needs preservatives just to survive the trip from factory to fridge. Hummus is nearly as easy with canned chickpeas, tahini, garlic, and lemon blended together, and a can of chickpeas costs a small fraction of a tub of the finished product. The same math that makes canned beans a stockpile hero applies here too. A basic food processor is the one tool that makes all three of these genuinely fast rather than just cheap. Under 2 minutes of actual hands-on work for any of them, which closes almost the entire convenience gap the tub was charging for in the first place. Salsa is the fastest of the three. Canned or fresh tomatoes, onion, jalapeno, and cilantro pulsed together takes less time than driving to the store for the jar version, and you control the heat and salt instead of guessing from the label. All three keep well for 4 or 5 days sealed in the fridge. So making a double batch on Sunday covers an entire week of snacking and lunches. The same grab a tub from the fridge convenience the store version sells, just refilled from your own container instead of bought fresh every time. Boxed mashed potato flakes, flavored rice mixes, and instant stuffing all charge a real premium for a seasoning packet and some pre-processing. Price per serving, they routinely cost several times what plain potatoes or plain rice cost, for a noticeably blander result. Plain rice and plain potatoes are already two of the cheapest calories in the entire grocery store, as we've covered before. The box version takes that cheap base and marks it up specifically for a seasoning mix you could recreate with spices already in your cabinet. A basic seasoning shelf, garlic powder, onion powder, paprika, a bouillon cube, lets you recreate almost any box-size flavor profile on plain rice or potatoes for pennies instead of dollars, and you can actually adjust it to your own taste instead of the boxes. The genuine convenience case here is real on a busy night. Dump the box in, add water, done in 10 minutes with zero decisions. Just know that convenience is costing you 3 or 4 times the ingredient price every single time you reach for it instead of the plain bag. A cheap rice cooker or an instant pot removes even a last excuse. Dump in rice or potatoes and water, walk away, and come back to a perfect batch with zero attention needed. Matching the box versions, dump it in simplicity without paying its markup. That bag of ice sitting in the freezer case by the checkout is frozen water, priced like a specialty item, often several dollars for a few pounds of the cheapest possible ingredient on the planet, purely for the convenience of not making your own. A stack of ice cube trays or a couple of reusable silicone ice bins does the same job for the cost of the water and electricity already running through your freezer, which is to say, essentially free. For a big event or a cooler that needs a lot of ice fast, buying a bag is a fair, occasional convenience. Nobody's filling 40 trays for a weekend barbecue. The mistake is buying bagged ice as a weekly habit for the everyday glass of water or the lunchbox cooler pack. Reusable ice packs are worth a specific mention here too. A $5 set used for years beats buying bags of ice for every single cooler trip, and they keep food colder for longer since they're denser than loose cubes. If ice is a genuinely frequent need in your house, big pitchers of iced tea all summer, entertaining often, a countertop ice maker or a fridge with a built-in one pays for itself within a season or two compared to buying bags weekly, and it never runs out at the exact moment you need it most. This isn't a warning against organic food. It's a warning against the word doing the selling instead of the ingredient list. A bag of natural potato chips or an organic cookie can carry the exact same sugar, oil, and salt profile as the regular version at a 30 to 50% higher price, purely for the label. The words natural and even organic describe how an ingredient was grown or processed, not automatically how healthy the finished product is. A processed snack can be organic and still be mostly sugar and refined flour. The label tells you about the farm, not the nutrition. The habit that actually protects your wallet and your health here is the same one. Flip the package over and read the ingredient list, not the front-of-box marketing. If it's nearly identical to the regular version's list, you're paying extra purely for a word. None of this means organic products are never worth it. For produce where pesticide exposure genuinely differs, the premium can be a reasonable choice. The mistake is assuming the label always means healthier or better on products where it mostly just means pricier. If avoiding pesticides genuinely matters to you, a farmer's market or the dirty dozen list of produce most worth buying organic gets you more the actual benefit per dollar than scanning the snack aisle for green packaging. The premium is best spent on the specific fruits and vegetables where it changes something, not on crackers. Mini water bottles, snack-sized cracker packs, travel-sized toiletries. Price per ounce. These are almost always the most expensive version of the product on the shelf, often 2 to 4 times the full-size unit price, for less product and more packaging per use. A set of small refillable bottles and containers, filled from the full-size version you already buy, gets you identical portability for a tiny fraction of the price, and you only need to buy that set of containers once, ever. Bottled water specifically deserves its own call-out here. A reusable bottle filled from the tap or a filter pitcher costs a rounding error compared to buying individual bottles regularly, and most municipal tap water in the U.S. is tested more frequently than bottled water is. The only place mini sizes genuinely make sense is airport security limits or a true one-time trial of a new product, a real, narrow use case. As a recurring weekly purchase, it's one of the purest packaging taxes in the entire store. Gym bags and cars are where mini sizes usually sneak back in out of habit. Keep one refillable bottle and one small reusable container permanently in each, and you never end up buying the mini version out of pure convenience in the moment because the reusable one is already sitting right there. And here's the thread connecting every single item on this list, the one habit worth spotting for the rest of your shopping life. Almost everything above charges you extra for someone else doing 30 seconds of prep work you're fully capable of doing yourself. Pre-cut, pre-shredded, pre-portioned, single-serve, travel size. It's the same trick wearing 14 different costumes. And once you can see it, you'll spot it in aisles we didn't even cover today. Pre-peeled hard-boiled eggs, pre-cracked nuts, individually wrapped cheese slices. The fix is the same every time, too. Buy the whole, plain, bulk version and spend a few minutes of your own time batching, portioning, prepping, converting it into the same convenience the expensive version sells you. You're not choosing between convenience and savings. You're choosing who gets paid for the 30 seconds, the store or nobody, because it took you 30 seconds. It compounds fast, too. Swap even half of the 14 items on this list for their plain, bulk, do-it-yourself version, and a typical household can realistically shave real money off a weekly grocery bill. Not from cutting back on food, just from refusing to keep paying someone else for 30 seconds of prep. That's genuinely the whole system. A handful of reusable containers, one prep session a week, and a habit of checking the unit price tag instead of the package price. It costs almost nothing to set up, and it pays you back on every single grocery trip for the rest of your life. One more habit ties the whole list together at the register. Before checkout, mentally total the unit prices of anything in the cart that's pre-cut, pre-shredded, or single-serve, and picture the plain version next to it. Most weeks, that mental math alone is worth more than any coupon you'll find that day. So there you have it, 14 items where convenience is quietly the most expensive ingredient in the cart, and the one pattern tying all of them together. Pre-portion costs extra every time without exception. None of this means never buy convenience again. Sometimes 30 seconds genuinely is worth the money, and that's a real, valid choice to make on purpose. The goal isn't guilt at the checkout. It's making that trade knowingly instead of by accident, aisle after aisle, without ever noticing the tax. If this saved you a few dollars in your next cart, hit subscribe. New pantry and grocery smart videos almost every day, real numbers, no judgment. And tell me in the comments, which of these 14 do you still buy anyway? Because for you the convenience genuinely is worth it? I'll admit it, the ice is my one exception. We'll keep breaking down where your grocery budget actually goes, one honest list at a time. No fear, no guilt, just the real math the label doesn't